The control of occupied territories will be a major part of any deal between Ukraine and Russia.
I think it's important to remind that it's not just territory, that it's people.
Russia claims all of the Ukrainian land it now occupies. That's roughly 20% of Ukraine's territory, plus it claims additional land in the east. But Ukraine has always said a deal must include a return to its pre-2014 borders. So which territories are we talking about? The southern peninsula of Crimea has been under Russian control since it was illegally annexed in 2014. Experts say that's unlikely to change in a deal. It holds strategic military importance with its location on the Black Sea, meaning Russia can reach the Mediterranean and Middle East easily, and it was a launching pad for Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Russia is pushing United States especially to recognize Crimea as Russian because it's a question of Putin's personal pride and legacy.
To understand these regions, we must go back to 2014 again. After Russia annexed Crimea, war broke out in Luhansk and Donetsk, an area known as the Donbass. Russian-backed separatists captured parts of these regions, declaring independence from Ukraine.
There's a lot of economic assets, connections, highway and railway, that it makes more sense to kind of take a whole chunk of it.
Fast forward to February 2022, President Putin ordered troops into the Donbass, just a few days before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In September of the same year, Moscow annexed all 4 regions, recognizing them as Russian territory. Putin called it the will of the people. Thousands fled, and life has changed dramatically for those who stayed.
The humanitarian situation, especially in smaller villages and towns near the front line, is horrific. People sometimes are melting snow to make tea.
On the other side of the conflict is territory seized by Ukraine. In August 2024, the country launched a surprise attack on Russia's western Kursk region. Tens of thousands of Russians were evacuated from the area. President Zélinsky confirmed at the time that its incursion aimed to create a buffer zone to prevent cross-border attacks from Russia.
We have no indication that Russia is willing to make any compromise, and now with President Trump actually siding with Russia on this, Russia has no incentive at all to make any concessions. For those Ukrainians who remain on those territories, I think the best case scenario would be if there would be an agreement that those people who would like to leave have the right to do so.
The Russian president actually just tonight, an interview airing very late on Russian television, said that he and Trump have not actually discussed ending the war in Ukraine. Here's how he put it.
In the phone conversation, by the way, and during the meeting in Riyadh, of course we touched upon issues related to the Ukrainian crisis, but it wasn't discussed in its essence. We only agreed that we would address this matter.
Only agreed they would address this matter, sort of a vague rhetorical dance. Not saying he was prepared to end the war imminently, as of course Trump has said he hopes is the case. Trump today was not just contradicted by his current ally, Putin, when it comes to ending the war, but also by American ally, French President Emmanuel Macron. The leader of the country, of course, that backed America at its formation in the Revolution, the country that sent the Statue of Liberty, an ally since the day America as a concept was born. Well, today, Macron contradicted Trump on his totally counterfactual insistence that it was Ukraine who started the war with Russia.
I mean, this war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Macron's saying the obvious, a fact that shouldn't need to be stated, right? Putin is the one who started this war. It is Russian troops that invaded Ukraine. These are just simple facts. I was there in Ukraine 3 years ago today when Putin launched that massive attack in Ukraine. The world responded, imperfectly for sure. Maybe those F-16 should have come sooner and people shouldn't have been so afraid of the nuclear threats from Putin. There were mistakes aplenty. But the world sided against a country invading its neighbor because that's wrong. They did so with weapons, with technology, and with unprecedented sanctions against Russia. But now Putin, in that interview tonight, said that Trump's move to open the economic floodgates for Russia is already starting.
Some of our companies are in contact with each other and are discussing such projects.
Such projects. This is significant, right? The company's already talking. I mean, economic ending of sanctions or relief at all is a massive lifeline to Putin if Trump goes ahead with it. I mean, just look at a few numbers from Jeffrey Sonnenfeld at the Yale School of Management. Food inflation in Russia, depending on what you're buying, 12 to 25%. Interest rates in a consumer loan, 25% or higher. Russia now accounts for close to zero of revenue for American businesses, well under 1%, close to zero. So if Trump keeps his word and opens up what his administration is calling, quote, potentially historic economic partnerships with Russia, he's saving Putin. It is what it is. And that's just like he did today when the Trump administration sided with just a few countries, including Russia, North Korea, and Putin's puppet state of Belarus, to reject a resolution which condemned Russian aggression in Ukraine, a resolution that overwhelmingly passed thanks in part to America's allies, the very same allies who were in Ukraine today on the anniversary of Putin's invasion. Jeff Zeleny is out front to begin our coverage tonight live at the White House. Nick Payton-Walsh is in Kyiv this evening. I want to begin, though, with Jeff Zeleny. And Jeff, President Trump refusing to call Putin a dictator, despite repeatedly calling Zelensky one. It's a very clear signal. He obviously knows that it is a signal that he is moving the U.S. closer towards Russia and away from Ukraine.
There's no question, but it's one of the reasons that Emmanuel Macron spent so much time here today, Aaron, starting in the Oval Office at 8 o'clock this morning, sitting right at the desk there with the American president for that G7 meeting of world leaders, a virtual meeting, spend a couple hours, return for a long lunch meeting, and then again in the East Room this afternoon, making the case that there is a strong alliance through repeated handshakes between these two leaders. Yes, there was friendship, but the deep divide was also very, very clear. But one thing Macron was trying to do, obviously, was get security guarantees. It's something that the American president, Donald Trump, did not offer. He was uncharacteristically quiet in that news conference in the East Room this afternoon, allowing Macron to do much more of the talking about the security guarantees, about the threat. But it is that UN security vote that you mentioned there, the U.S. siding with the Russia, North Korea, and Belarus, that perhaps spoke volumes. That was the action of this administration here. So certainly at the end of this day, the president said that he believes the war in Ukraine may be weeks away from ending. He said he would like to meet with Vladimir Putin, but it's unclear exactly what those terms would be. But this is the beginning of the meeting on Thursday. The British Prime Minister also coming here to bolster Macron's case. So the Western alliances are trying to keep Trump away from Putin.